Mario Party, a gaming icon that has been well known for being one of the most exciting yet frustrating games at the same time that have continued to persist in the newer titles to this day. Being a key classic in any average household, Mario Party has continuously been a commonality within the family dynamic and has been a fantastic introduction to video games for any environment that can spark competition amongst those who are involved. Personally, Mario Party has been a key staple of my childhood as a kid, and although I never did end up playing the classics such as the original trilogy on the N64, as I had really only played the games on the Wii and GameCube, I would later return to see how good of a game these actually are. However, in this video I wanted to dive into one of my favorite games in the franchise, Mario Party 2, and discuss the iceberg chart associated with this game to delve into some of the more unknown and mysterious aspects of this game that I never got to noticing on a first playthrough. I found this iceberg on the iceberg chart subreddit by a user known as Wilfred Cthulhu, which will be linked in the description if you want to see the full iceberg chart for yourself. However, without further ado, let us get into the official Mario Party 2 iceberg. Costumes. Costumes refers to how Mario Party 2 was and still remains to be the only Mario Party game that features costumes that the characters wear depending on the board they are playing on. For instance, if playing on Western Land, the playable characters within the game will change costumes to fit a more Western or cowboy style, or if playing on the Space Land, they will exhibit space outfits and so on. This is one of my favorite features of this game as a whole. It adds a lot of personality to the game, and I am very surprised it has not returned since its introduction in this game. Rainbow Run. Rainbow Run is a 1 vs 3 minigame that is seen within Mario Party 2 that can be only unlocked through the purchasing of 50 minigames from Woody in Minigame Park. It is a remake of a minigame featured in Mario Party that was called Tightrope Treachery. Essentially, this minigame sees the 1-player team attempting to cross this rainbow beam, whilst the 3-player team attempts to shoot down the player on the beam with cannons on clouds. This game has been heavily criticized due to the general unfairness of the game for the 1-player team, and generally is nowhere near as fun as most of the minigames featured in this game. Driver's Ed. Driver's Ed was yet another minigame that could be unlocked through the use of Woody. However, it was the ultimate culmination of these unlockables, as to reach this point you had to previously purchase every 4-player, 1v3, 2v2, item, and battle minigame, and will be represented as a pair on Woody's tree if available. Driver's Ed is a very simple minigame that sees one character simply driving a vehicle around a series of cones in order to pop balloons with numbers showing the intended direction as to which the player is to drive. Unfortunately, due to the honestly pretty horrendous controls and polish of the N64 games at the time, this minigame does not play very well, and very similarly to Rainbow Run, has been criticized because of it. I myself do not really have a problem with it, as it is mainly just there for fun and is tucked away behind a multitude of unlockables. Getting smaller and look away. In the look away minigame, if one of the characters on the 3-player team performs the action of the player above, their head located on the bottom of the screen can shrink. Upon repeated failures, the head can get increasingly small, and although it does not really matter as you have already been eliminated, I think it's just a funny addition put in by Nintendo. Got item? This entry refers to the message that pops up after getting a Bowser bomb in a bonus item minigame, and can be accompanied by a rather strange jingle. This is a oddity, as usually when getting a normal item such as a mushroom, the screen will promptly say got item without a question mark, but I think this was just put in by Nintendo to show the oddity of an item such as the Bowser bomb. Mario Party 1 remakes. This entry refers to how a lot of the minigames and other aspects of this game are essentially copy and pasted from the original Mario Party game that released a year prior. This is a common trend seen especially within the initial trilogy of these games, and is a common reason as to why many cannot form stark contrast to these games due to their general similarity, which we will talk about more in the iceberg later. Bowser's Chance Time differences. Chance Time is a system I believe you all are most likely familiar with, but for those who don't know, it is essentially a gambling aspect of the game that can either screw you over completely or cause someone else to be completely ruined for the rest of the game through the use of giving coins or even stars to other players. However, another version of this does exist. When landing on a Bowser event space on any board, the player has a chance of having Bowser's Chance Time as a punishment inflicted by the King Koopa himself, and essentially the only only difference in this chance time is that there is no beneficiary besides Bowser. Whoever has to give up coins just ends up losing it and does not give it to anyone else, making this a true Bowser move. Original Luigi wins by doing absolutely nothing. This entry actually refers to an extremely popular YouTube video that was uploaded almost 15 years ago by a YouTuber known as Clyde Storm that features him playing as Luigi and simply standing still, but still somehow managing to win every single minigame. It has amassed a whopping 9.3 million views and has been one of the most popular pieces of media for this game. Character item preferences. Each playable character within this game actually has their own item preferences to have whilst playing the game, and this can be seen by playing against a CPU character in any board. For instance, Mario's favorite item is of course the mushroom, Yoshi's favorite item is the item box, and Peach's favorite item is the plunder chest. These facts can actually be spotted within the manual of this game and on the character select screen, and is an interesting feature that I do not believe has returned within any other Mario Party game. Playing against Toad and Baby Bowser. In the base version of this game, the only playable characters are of course Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, Peach, Wario, and Donkey Kong. However, both Toad and Baby Bowser can be played against under special circumstances. Toad can be played against by getting through World 8 of the minigame poster, in which he will then prompt you to beat him in a slot car derby race, which is cool as his model is in the game, it is just unfortunately not used. Additionally, the Baby Bowsers can be played against by traversing through the minigame coaster's hard difficulty, right before you actually get to unlocking the driver's ed just mentioned, in which you will play a game of tread carefully against 3 other Baby Bowsers. This is a extremely unique feature in my opinion, and I love it for it. I just honestly wish that they would unlock to play in a regular gameplay after beating them. Big Boo. Big Boo is an addition to the board Horrorland and can be spotted in the top right area of the map. During the daytime section of this map, Big Boo is actually inaccessible, as he is simply just a statue. However, when it is nighttime, Big Boo comes out as a ghost and can offer a extremely helpful action for the player if the player has the item, the skeleton key. If the player has the skeleton key, they can either choose to steal coins from others for 15 coins or steal 1 star from each player for 150 coins. And it is one of the best NPCs within any of the boards in the game. Unique Baby Bowsers. This entry refers to the fact that on the board Bowserland, Baby Bowser actually has multiple unique models of his character, which is dissimilar to his design in other boards. Some of the designs honestly look pretty goofy, and nobody really knows why this necessarily is. Maybe it's implying that these Baby Bowsers are like another one of Bowser's minions, or these could be the original versions of the Koopalings, who knows. Koopa Bank Coin Stack. This entry refers to how the Koopa coin bank found in every single board of this game has a little stack of coins next to it. This feature is cool, however, as the coins within the stack itself actually increase or decrease depending on what action is performed with the coins themselves, and it's just a nice little environmental touch in the game. Picker Item. The Picker Item is a scrapped item within the game that is believed to give the player the option to choose what minigame is played at the end of the round instead of it being random. This item honestly would have been a decent addition, and it's unknown why it was cut. No game. This entry refers to a feature that can only be accessed through hacking of the game's files, and would replace the minigame at the end of each round with no game whatsoever. Essentially, it would do this by turning all of the character colors to yellow in the versus screen and would display the message of no game. And this has been speculated to be a developer testing device so that they did not have to play a minigame at the end of each round. Bowser Bank taking a star. On the board Bowserland, the board essentially works a lot different than the regular board seen within the game. For example, when passing by the bank on this map, not landing on it, you actually gain coins rather than losing it as you would on any other board. However, if you end up landing on the space, the bank will take however many coins that they have loaned out throughout the entire game, and if you somehow manage to have no coins landing on this space but have a star, Baby Bowser will just take your star instead. Western Land Japanese ending. Traditionally, in the Western Land ending, the player who won the game would heroically stand to have a shootout with the so-called Bowser the Brash using cork guns. However, the Japanese version of this ending ends up actually using real bullets within the weapons themselves, which is a extremely dark turn for the game. Day at the Races odds indicators. Day at the Races is a minigame that sees 4 Mario enemies racing to the finish line and is solely a game based on luck. Or is it? Well, actually, if you look closely at the selection of characters in line before the race starts, you can see facial expressions that could be indicators as to if they will win or lose. For instance, if a character is to look more tired, for example by looking down, then they are a character that will not win. However, if the character looks upward and energized, then they are more likely to win. There is no genuine way to determine if they will win every single time, however, this strategy can be used to pilot the odds in your favor. Falling down settings pipe. When choosing the settings for your party and how the game will go, a screen will pop up after everything that says something along the lines of, are these the correct settings? Usually the player would just click yes, however if you click no, the pipe in which the players are running in will turn a whole 90 degrees and we'll see the characters fall to the bottom, restarting the process. It's just a funny inclusion that exemplifies the simple and fun nature of the Mario Party games and nothing more. Shell-shocked extra hits. This was a cut feature that would allow the player to gain extra hits on the minigame Shell-shocked, aka tread carefully. This increase would allow for 4 or 5 hits to be allowed rather than the standard 2 and is just a oddity in the game. Debug menu $DK. The debug menu within this game has a background with all 6 playable characters within it. However, for some reason DK is a simple silhouette with a question mark. This most likely occurred due to the fact that Nintendo was unsure if they should keep his full model in the game from Rareware. However, it's still odd that they kept it like this. Mystery Land early icon. Before the launch of the game, the Mystery Land icon was actually a little different, as instead of this odd shape we see today, it was just once a pair of footprints. Nobody really knows why, and its significance is entirely unknown. Hootenanny has alcohol. The Hootenanny is essentially an action that can be performed in Western Land for 20 coins, in which every character on the board goes to the spot and has a little party. However, it is heavily implied within this game that the characters do actually engage in some sort of drinking, which can be evident with the quote-unquote milk that they are drinking, as well as how the character who called it acting like they are dizzy, which could be seen as being intoxicated. It is a interesting theory, and I would not put it past Nintendo to implement a message like this. Minigame coaster and stadium logos. Both the minigame coaster and stadium have their own logos within the game, very similarly to the boards, and many thought that they were actually cut content initially. However, they can be spotted when pausing the game within these modes, making it a piece of in-game content. Wolf species in Horrorland. If you look at the bottom left of the Horrorland board, you will spot these wolves on the outskirts that look completely different than anything seen in the game prior. They are a spooky addition to the board itself, and it makes you wonder where they came from and why they are specifically exclusive to this game in particular. Graveyard. Multiple graveyards appear across the boards within this game, including the one in Horrorland of course, but the one this is most likely referring to is the strange one located in Western Land near the top of the board itself. It is such a strange inclusion within the game, and it really makes you wonder what kind of things could have happened to those who were buried there. Goomba houses. A really odd and just mysterious feature that is included within this game is the fact that this Goomba house will appear in every single board in the game. These Goomba houses simply just exist in the game and do not have any significance in terms of playing the game itself, making it a relatively strange inclusion. It has been theorized that these Goomba houses once had a legitimate feature or reason for being there, and it's just odd that they are located on every single board and yet do nothing for it. Bowser Bomb manual use. The Bowser Bomb is an item we discussed earlier that only will activate at a random interval when playing the game itself. However, if the Bowser Bomb is stolen from another player through the use of the plunder chest, there is an option to use it manually. However, it displays the message, "You cannot use Bowser Bomb here." It is an odd inclusion and honestly is just a bug within the game and nothing more. All win / all won. When playing the Toad and Baby Bowser minigames just mentioned, text will display 2 different different alternatives for the same outcome, stating all wins for Toad and all 1 for Baby Bowser. Both of these honestly sound grammatically horrible, and I really do not know what the translators were thinking when including this. Unused jingle. The first track heard in the original Mario Party was supposed to be implemented in this game, but was ultimately unused. It can still be heard in the debug menu of the game, but it does not play as it did in the original. Bomberman. In the game's files, there is a unused image of Bomberman located in the files for the minigame roll call. For those unfamiliar, Bomberman has his own video game series, and it's really just a odd inclusion within the game that did not have to be there. However, that did not stop people from theorizing that Bomberman is a playable character within the game, which of course we found out he was not. Scrapped minigames. There are 6 known scrapped minigames within the code of Mario Party 2. The 6 minigames that we know were scrapped include Exciting Pipe Lottery, which seemed to be a remake of Pipe Maze from Mario Party, Lucky Coin Grab, which states that coins will fall from the sky, Tug of War, which was a altered version of Tug of War from the first game, but is also similar to the minigame Looney Lumberjacks, Rapid Rafting, which was similar to Paddle Battle in the first game, Note Steps, which seems to be a recreation of Musical Mushrooms from the first game, and Treasure Divers, which would have been a direct port from the game seen in the first game. There was surprisingly a decent amount in this game, and it's a shame that some of them did not make the final cut. Pirate Land, Skull Cavern, and Corpses. This entry refers to how odd the Skull Cavern is that is located on the top left of the map that honestly looks pretty creepy, and many have interpreted it to have a deeper meaning. Additionally, there is a skeleton at the bottom left of the board, which adds on to this creepy factor and dark nature of this island. However, I personally believe they were just trying to fit it in with the pirate theming present in this board, and there really isn't much else to it. All boards from 1 were meant to appear. In the files of the game, there are newly made and fully modeled logos for all of the boards that featured in the original Mario Party that came out a year prior. This heavily implies that the original boards seen in the prior Mario Party game were meant to feature, however, did not end up being within the game for unknown reasons. Was meant to be a DD add-on. There is a genuine theory that Mario Party 2 was meant to be a N64 disk drive add-on of the original Mario Party. If you play Mario Party with the disk drive on the console itself and attempt to insert a disk drive compatible disk within it, an error message will pop up saying the incorrect disk is inserted. Now this is significant because this message only appears for games that were meant to have a disk drive add-on, which essentially implies Mario Party 2 was supposed to be a disk drive add-on. This is additionally supported by the fact that both of these games are extremely similar conceptually, so it makes a whole lot of sense given the evidence. Old Japanese board. This refers to a extremely old rumor within the game that stated that if you played the game enough, you would unlock a specific board that would have a Japanese theme to it, in which the characters would wear kimonos for their costumes. This could be completely wrong, but in all honesty, this is the only information I could find on this. If you guys have any idea, please let me know in the comments below. Toad in the Box going on forever. Toad in the Box is a minigame that has been characterized as stressful and extremely difficult by the majority of those who have played it, especially for the last couple of hits on the dice, as it can move extremely fast and can be hard to time correctly. However, this entry refers to the fact that Toad in the Box technically can go on forever, as in order for the minigame to actually end, the player actually has to win, as there is no time limit that ends the game automatically. Intense emotional response from title and ending themes. I could honestly not really find any substantial information to back this entry. I mean, the title screen and ending screen music could be emotional just as any other game, and I could see how one could have a personal connection to it if they constantly played it in their childhood or something. I myself personally do not have any such emotional response, but maybe others will. Peach's Castle in Mystery Land. In the board Mystery Land, if you look really closely at the top right of the map, hiding in the fog, you can actually see Peach's Castle from Mario 64. This is such a cool addition by Nintendo in my opinion. It's really mysterious and makes you wonder why it it is there, similarly to a lot of other oddities located on Mystery Land, and it really provokes thought as to how it got there and what its significance is. Western Land natives. On the board Western Land, you can see multiple pieces of evidence that pertains to a civilization that once lived in the board itself, specifically with this circle of teepees around the campfire located near the bottom left of the map. Now, with all the other buildings around it, it would imply that there is some sort of other civilization conflicting with these individuals, and it could imply bad things have happened here, especially seen with the graveyard discussed earlier. This probably doesn't really even mean anything in the long run, but it's fun to theorize about anyways. Bowser actually rewarding you. When encountering Bowser on the Bowser space, he gives you a random selection of punishments that the player can face that is chosen at complete random. However, one of these choices is actually a good choice sometimes. In fact, it's way too good to be true, and it's something like 100 stars usually. The wheel can actually pick this as a genuine selection, however, but upon picking it, Bowser will act nervous and simply flee without any reward whatsoever. This is honestly probably the best option out of all the punishments, as you really don't get punished for it at all, he just kind of flees. Correctly playing Slot Card Derby. This entry is meant to simply be a meme that is extremely popular and well known amongst those familiar with this game. Essentially, Slot Card Derby is a minigame that sees people racing around a track and trying to compete to get first place. However, this game has been infamously criticized due to its difficulty and horrible controls that make it impossible to get a hold of. The two characters you never play as whereabouts. This entry honestly does not make a whole lot of sense to me whatsoever. I get that when you play any board you choose 4 characters to play as and 2 are left out, but I don't necessarily think they go anywhere. It is interesting to think about, I suppose, but it does not make a whole lot of sense, and if any of you have any idea, please let me know in the comments. Noticing something new every time you play. Again, this entry is a little bit confusing, but I can kinda see where it's coming from. There are a lot of aspects of this game that you do not notice at a first glance, such as the fact that there is a ketchup bottle located on Horrorland, or how there is a pair of eyes peering out of the mountainside on Westernland. All of the minute additions to this game are fascinating, and I would recommend just looking around sometimes and discovering little pieces you never saw initially. 12 Tails Flowers. This entry refers to the fact that on the minigame Toad's Bandstand, there is this giant white flower that resembles the smiley flowers located on 12 Tails, which is a Conker's Bad Fur Day game. This probably is not even a reference to be completely honest, but it's just a unique coincidence that was spotted by the creator of this Iceberg, I guess. Not everything about Mystery Land is known yet. Mystery Land is one of the most interesting and unique boards we have ever seen within any Mario Party game, and because of it, it has a lot of unsolved and obscure pieces to it. For example, the Peach's Castle we mentioned earlier has no reason for being here, neither does Dory in the top left of the map itself. However, there are other aspects, like why is there a crashed plane here? Why are there ruins with King Bob-omb? What significance does this made up Stonehenge have? You could go on and on with this board, and it really attributes to the mysterious nature of its name, and is one of the reasons this is my personal favorite board in this game. So with that, that is the Mario Party 2 Iceberg. I never really would have thought I would ever make a Iceberg video about this game. Despite the fact it is my favorite Mario Party, I just was not expecting it to have a Iceberg chart. Mario Party 2 is one of my favorites when it comes to the Mario series, and it has so many little fun additions, and although the Iceberg was not the biggest we have ever seen, I am just so happy I could cover a Iceberg chart for this game. I know this video was not anything crazy, and as always, since this is among some of my first creations on this channel, any feedback, positive or constructive, is always appreciated. Make sure you guys go check out the other Iceberg video I made on Mario Kart Wii. I think it was really great and I put a lot of time into it, but thank you guys so much for watching this one, and peace.